Let's talk about accountability. Wait, accountability? What? The reason why most of us want to be entrepreneurs, have our own business, is that we don't want a boss. We don't want somebody to report to. We don't want that responsibility. But accountability? That's why most of us dream of becoming entrepreneurs after all. No boss, our own schedule, every success our very own, money, glory. So what's this accountability thing, and why is it so important to get the funding we need to make our dreams come true?
All right, settle down, people. We've got a lot to cover, and time is short.
Well, tap the like button, and we'll see if we can untangle this mess called accountability. I'm James Callahan, and this is the Do-Over Show, where we are tackling the 30 in-your-face questions, challenges that stand between you and getting the funding for your startup or new business.
So rather than waste your time this semester with a lot of useless theories, we're going to jump right in with both feet and create a fictional company from the ground up.
And numbers 21 through 25 of our 30-day challenge are about how money makes us feel. What's it going to do to us when we finally get the funding to make our dream a reality? Now, we already know what we're going to do with the money. We know how much we need to survive. We know how much we need ideally to thrive. And yet money itself can be, when we get it, can be the very thing that sends us off the rails. These next ideas are about how funding makes us feel, how we should think about money when we start to get the funding we've been looking for, and how to avoid the most painful problems of successful funding. So number 21, securing a funding and even passionate investors doesn't guarantee our success. Our idea, our market, our suppliers can still fail us. And then there are the things that are beyond our control, like droughts, floods, pandemics, hello 2020. So number 22, our goal is not just to be fully funded, although being underfunded or marginally capitalized is probably the greatest contributor to new business startup failures. But the goal is to be accountable to our funding and investors as much as we are committed to our mission, our product, or our service. I actually know one startup business owner that tries not to communicate with his investors. He thinks that it will show his failures too easily. By the way, he's also the person who refuses to say thank you because he thinks it will make him seem weak. And I know another entrepreneur in her startup who sends text messages at the end of each and every day about sales figures and inventory levels. Every single day, all the detail. Now, we know that the right amount of communication is somewhere between those two extremes. And number 23, being fully funded is really just a synonym for unaccountable. You see, having the right communication channels with investors is important. And honestly, some investors expect way too much information from you. Instead, it's our responsibility to share the right kind of information and using the right kind of metrics in order to show them, our investors, that we know what our success actually looks like and what things really should be measured to show if we're moving in the right direction.
What's the product?
That is immaterial for the purposes of our discussion here, but if it makes you happy, they're widgets.
What's a widget?
It's a fictional product. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Tell that to the bank, you know.
Take it easy. It's the first day, you know.
And no, this doesn't mean that we're handling them or we're blowing smoke. It means that we have the kind of transparency and honesty with them that shows them we know the right direction that we're headed, we know how their money is being used, and we are able to show them how their money is leading us from startup to success. And that means that number 24, our communication with our investors is our value add, not only to their money, but to their life. It builds on that story that they're the hero of the success that we're all pursuing. Now, only the worst marketers stop marketing when things are going their way, and only the worst salespeople get panicked about selling when they need to sell. Instead, a good salesperson, like a good marketer, is always on their game, is always putting themselves out there. And that's the value add that we have to use when we think about communicating and connecting with our investors.
Sounds like there's a lot of interest.
All right. A few people have invited us in just to laugh at me on this deal. Is that you?
No.
Is that what this is?
That's not what this is. That's just how Mark is. Let's see what you got.
I'm sorry.
You smell that? What is that?
What?
What's that smell?
A cologne?
No.
Opportunity.
No. Money.
Okay.
And that brings us to number 25, when we actually ask, what is it that our investors are asking of us? If it's a return on their investment, then that's clear and transparent. Here's the dollar amount, here's the expected date of recouping their investment. I've worked with some newly retired entrepreneurs, and they get far too involved. They're much too hands-on, and they actually get in the way of your success and the functioning of a startup business.
I bet your margins are pretty nice and fat.
Let's not talk about my margins, by the way.
And in those situations, it means we need to be, well, upfront and honest with them and know when to tell them to butt out in order to let the business succeed, to keep their role as an investor in that category as an investor, and let your role as a leader in this entrepreneurial venture be that role for you. Now, in the nonprofit world, stakeholders tend to have a very well-defined role, and that is they're not paid, but they volunteer their time and they give their skills or abilities as auditors or accountants or working with human capital, and that's their gift in kind, that's their contribution to the nonprofit. But in the for-profit world, investors put their money to work and use their involvement to stay involved, to pay it forward, or maybe even plan on writing off their investment in your great startup when, it fails. Some want to start taking money out of the business from day one. And by the way, every single restaurant that I have seen fail over the past 5 or 6 years, the investors started to take money out of the restaurant on day one, month one. And that is a recipe, pun intended, for failure. So what all of these different scenarios have in common is creating the right expectations and keeping the right kind of communication channels open, measuring the right things and reporting on what success looks like with those metrics. And that means that accountability involves maybe even changing your goals after you realize, that's too easy a metric. That's not really helping us. And that means that we admit our mistakes, we change up our metrics in order to portray the growth and development that they really do expect out of us. They don't look for perfection. They look for the opportunity to grow, to reach success. Because it's this level of accountability and communication that will make your life as an entrepreneur, well, more livable. And if it sounds like you're still working for someone, you really are. You're working for your customers, you're working for your employees, and you're working for your investors. And yes, you're also working for yourself. And thanks for being part of the Do-Over Show. Please tap the like button because it really helps. And while you're down there, remember to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our final 5 in our 30-day in-your-face challenge, the 30 ideas we need to work through in order to find the funding that turns your dream into a reality. I'm so glad you found me, and I found you. Thanks.